Alright class, today we're going to look at what it is to build a cabinet. Here you see I'm starting to sketch out what my plan will be for the cabinet that I'm about to build and starting to measure out what my numbers will be to scale. So I'm planning on building a relatively small box, about 2 feet wide, a little over 2 feet tall. And you'll see it has bottom, 2 sides, stretchers along the top, and there will be a back panel that I'll show you in a later drawing. So there we go, we got our numbers. Now we go to our material, and as you can see, I was pulling both from the left and right side of that board to get the same number. I would mark for both sides so that when I take it over to the festival saw, like I'm doing here, those marks will give me a nice straight and parallel edge to the one that I'm cutting from. So I should have 2 square pieces now. Those are my sides. The sides are the same depth as the bottom piece, but the bottom piece is just a little less wide. So there we go. Now I've cut my bottom piece, and I'm setting up to cut the depth, at least, on the stretchers, which are the top pieces, just 4 inches depth, and then cut them to that 22.5 inch length. So the 22.5 inch length set in between the 2 3/4 inch pieces of plywood will give me a 24 inch total width on my box. Alright, so now that I've cut all the parts for that, I'm just going to do a drawing here to show you a little bit about how this box is constructed from a top-down view. There on the right, I've done an exploded view of what it looks like to have a rabbet in your board. And rabbet is just a channel that accepts a 3/16 piece of plywood, commonly called 1/4 inch, but actually measures out to 3/16. So once I've got that channel cut into my sides, my bottom piece, and my top stretcher, then I'll have room for that back piece to slide in. So here I am, I'm cutting the channel in these pieces. I will set up a router with a 3/16 inch bit when it comes time for you as students to do this part of the process. However, since I don't have that set up, I'm just using the table saw for this. The first pass will give me an 1/8 inch rabbet. The second pass will take off another 1/16, which will get me to my total of 3/16. Alright, so now I've run all the channels on them. I'm going to cut my back piece. That will then fit in. Using a piece of plywood there as a straight edge to just make my lines nice and crisp. And here I begin by cutting from length. And then spinning around, and here I'm going to cut the width of my back piece. Alright, so now I'm going to do a dry fit. Dry fit is just without glue, making sure everything fits, works together well. I actually do a few of these through the course of this project. And since there's not a domino yet between my top stretcher in the front and the 2 side pieces, I'm just going to use a clamp here so that I can start marking out for my dominoes, which I'm doing here. Bring you inside the cabinet a little bit so that you can see what it looks like to mark for dominoes. Alright, so I have 4 dominoes locations marked on both my side and my bottom layer. And here I'm going to give you a view from face on. In a moment I'll give you another view from the side of what it looks like for me to use that domino machine and create all the mortises for the dominoes in that. You'll start to notice there's going to become a lot of holes on the boards. And there I am dry fitting the dominoes to each of the holes. Again, remember you only put it in one side so that when you put the 2 boards together you don't have 2 dominoes hitting on them. That's a snug fit. Doing another dry fit here, just making sure all my dominoes turned out right, came together right. Starting to look like a picture, huh? Alright, so checking to make sure the back works. Once I have the carcass all built, which is very close to, then I'm going to start looking at what it is to make the face frame. So, my dominoes all fit, looks good. Now let's do the math for the face frame. The face frame should flush out on the sides and the top, and it may drop a little low on the bottom because usually you set it lower cabinet on top of the toe kick. And it's okay that there's a little overhang. I'll explain more about that later. Right now I'm starting to cut parts to the face frame, stiles and the rails, and I'm going to have 3 rails, one on the top and the bottom and one kind of towards the top, creating a space for a drawer. Alright, here I go. I'm putting dominoes on all the parts for the face frame. I'm doing the sides first. Now I'm fitting and marking the rails. It's a lot of dominoing, but it's all worth it because it adds stability and strength. Alright, so now I've got that face frame all dry fit. There we go, we've got ourselves a box. It's starting to look a lot like that picture. So that's just a speed version of what it looks like to build a cabinet. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll now let you guys have a chance to try and build it yourself.